Greetings, Rudy. I've been watching Alpha Investments since roughly 2019, and I love your content. I'm sorry. Part of why I started the buyout of this card was due to seeing some of my videos on buyouts in the past. I chose Army of Allah from Arabian Nights for a few reasons. Number one, it was Arabian Nights, an incredible set. Number two, it had both dark and light variants to the colorless mana symbol. Number three, a card name will likely result in it never being reprinted again. I agree. Number four, now this is interesting, I couldn't afford anything else from Arabian Nights, LOL. I think I'll be breaking even on this buyout at the end of the day. Once again, another buyout failed from purchasing fatigue, and I wanted to start spending my extra cash elsewhere. But still, it was a really fun, weird experience. I hope you enjoy some tacos while looking over 970 Army of Allah, which is more than likely 1% of the total cards in the world left intact. 93,000 lights were printed and 31,000 dark cards were printed. Use this power responsibly. Thank you again for taking this off my hands and to go back to being a Timmy and enjoying your videos. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a conversation about the reserve list, the past, and, well, we're going to have some pretty blunt talks. So first, what do we have? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you 1,000 Army of Allahs from this gentleman, including some cool misprints, miscenters, some cool miscuts. So I probably already have 500 to 1,000 copies, and this pushes me to probably around 2,000 copies of this Arabian Nights card. Assuming 50 to 60% of Arabian Night cards still exist after 30 years. What did he say the print run? What was he estimating? 93,030. So estimating 125,000 of these cards were printed. Let's assume half still exists after 30 years of natural attrition, problems, everything. Again, just a common card. If half of these exist, that'd be around 60,000, let's say, left in the world. So I guess one taco, goofball, scalper scanner, 5,000, Rudy. If I own around 2,000 of 60,000, that puts me approaching between, on the low side, I'm going to say 2% of the print run, on the high side, 4% of the print run, depending on how much still exists. So now that we got that out of the way, let's discuss the situation. So we have a gentleman who's watched the channel, talks about 2018, 2019, which was the reserve list era before Wizards of the Coast developed the flashy, high-end collector box, as Mark Bottomwater would say, Project Booster Fun, where Wizards of the Coast destroyed the value of all modern and standard cards. Secret Lairs extracted all secondary market value from everybody's collections around the world. And prices went up like crazy. And, of course, foils and flashy cards were completely eroded due to the mass printing of foil variations, different card frames, different treatments, and it's diluted and done a ton of value destruction, as we've seen. So, you go back to this particular era, during the reserve list buyouts of 2017, 18, 19, this gentleman states that all he could afford was a common card from Arabian Nights. Not even a high-end reserve list card or anything. Just a common card, okay? And, well, he says he didn't really make any money. He enjoyed the experience, and he's probably breaking even selling to me. My opinion, bad condition versions of these cards are probably worth $5, maybe $6, $7, $8. Mint condition, maybe $10, $15, maybe $20, maybe, if I'm lucky. That is the range of this card in the current, well, bare, lacking market that nobody cares about. Will that ever change? You know, again, as I told you guys in all my videos in the last 6, 12, 18 months, I am one of the last men standing believing that the most undervalued segment of the collectible world is the forgotten, underappreciated vintage Magic the Gathering and vintage sealed product, modern sealed product before 2020. I feel that is the most shunned area. And as you all know, I am a big fan of making large moves in markets that everybody ridicules, laughs, calls me the king of Timmys, and of course, nobody believes in. Those are my favorite things to play around in because I don't have competition. Nobody else is buying. Nobody else is who else is going to buy this? Who else is going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a common card from Arabian Nights that essentially I can't sell this? Who am I going to sell it to? I mean, honestly, the best course of action for me is to hand 2,000 copies of it to like PCG, and we grade the entire thing and just put them on the market, I guess? Show it for advertising? I mean, no one's going to buy 2,000 copies of this. You'd have to be a moron like me, right? And that's how life works. In the times you need to be greedy are the times that blood's in the street, you're laughed at, you're ridiculed, and old man Rudy yells at the clouds. Okay, I dig a hole, I jump in the hole, I pretend I'm a carrot, and I literally reflect as I eat the dirt around me. Okay? So, why did this guy's particular, buyout fail? Well, as I told you guys in a previous era, if you're going to collect or invest or attempt buyouts, you need to be careful on the cards you pick. Remember I told you guys there's kind of like a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 buyouts and tier 1 investing of vintage cards are going to be Power 9, symbolic cards. We're talking Lion's Eye Diamond, Grim Monolith, Power 9, Dual Lands, Bazaars, Libraries, Tabernacles. Very monstrous cards. Now you get to that tier 2 range, there's still a bunch of good stuff. The Mirror Universes, the Eurekas, the Dejins, the Freets. There's a lot of good cards. I even consider like Wheel of Fortune and, a lot of other Urza's cards and different things. But when you get to tier 3, tier 4, that may not even be reserve list. You have to be very careful because you're engaging in risk that's not really like this gentleman, his success and failure was not based on this card. His success and failure, the reason he didn't make a ton of money doing this is because he chose a tier 3, tier 4 basic card. Still Arabian Nights, still rare. Even the most common card in Arabian Nights is rare. Could be a flippin', oasis, could be a desert, it doesn't matter. But the thing is, what hammered this guy is the same thing I discuss with you all the time to help educate everybody. When the market turns and the trend is no longer your friend, the lower the tier, the harder it falls. When a bear market on Wall Street hits, penny stocks, small caps, micro caps, they fall the hardest. Okay? Large cap, mega cap, techs, Walmart, Apple, Google, Amazon, Nvidia, these monster blue chip companies. Sure, a bear market, a market crash can drop these things 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, even 50%, maybe temporarily, but it's possible. Absolutely, absolutely. But when you get to crazy stuff, you could be talking 60, 70, 80, 90, 95% losses. And that's the issue. We see that in the crypto markets. You hit a crypto winter like we went through for a couple of years. Sure, Bitcoin, though in the previous cycle, had an all-time high of 69,000, giggity. It drops to a low of 12, 15, 16, 17,000 in the teens. I mean, you're talking, Jesus, what is that? 60%, 70% from high to low? But if you talk about like an altcoin or a meme coin, you could be talking 90, 95% losses that may not ever come back. So I'm not, yes, I agree. They're never going to print another card called Army of Allah. They're not going to print Army of Allah. They will never do that at Wizards of the Coast. Reserve list or not, they're never going to print that. So when you reflect on all these things, you have to look at downside risk and upside potential. And there's a very real chance that these cards never go up. There is never a bull market in vintage again. And I just have these cards and they're passed down to my children and that's it. And that is something I'm okay with because I enjoy, and you all know my number one favorite Magic set in human history is Arabian Nights. I've always been a huge fan since I was a kid. Ever since I was a little kid and I watched Aladdin the first time, that was it. Jasmine, that was it. That chick, I saw that girl on the TV screen when I was a little kid the first time. That was it. I was done. I was toast. That was it. Game over. Then I got older. Tales of 1,001 Arabian Nights. You guys know I'm big into pretty much European oil paintings from the 18th, 19th century. I love Orientalist style oil paintings, which are pretty much, just so you guys know what that is, those are painters and artists from Europe in the 18th, 19th century that never went to the Middle East, but they viewed the Middle East as some oasis with beautiful architecture, beautiful women. It was like a dream beauty thing that they envisioned versus actually what the real world was. So my entire life, I've always loved Arabian Nights. And of course, the culture around it, the history around it. And of course, for me, when I was a kid, we didn't have any money. We were dead fucking broke. So watching Aladdin and being in the magic as a teenager and discovering the original set as a teenager was Arabian Nights. And not having any money, I never owned any Arabian Nights as a kid. It was just something that was out of reach. I mean, a $10 dual land for me, I had to save up 2 weeks of allowance at $5 a piece to buy one dual land. So Arabian Nights cards to me were essentially some sort of grail that teenage young Rudy didn't even... I literally remember seeing one or two in like a display case as a kid in a store in Florida. But it was something I never knew I would even own. So of course, there's the history of... And there you go. There's your nostalgia. There's your dopamine hit. There's the history of me and Arabian Nights. So when we return to this story, the argument right now remains, based on the story I just told you, everybody watching this channel today, according to YouTube data, is between the ages of like 18 and like 38. Well, the younger generation has no story, has no connection, doesn't give a shit about Aladdin, doesn't care about Arabian Nights, doesn't care about Middle East like this, doesn't care about any of this Oriental history, whatever terminology you want to use, whatever language you want to use, whatever story you want to use. Young people have no connection to this stuff. And based on that, and generational shifts in aging and population, these products may never become in style, in demand again. So anybody who's wanting to collect or invest in things like this must assume the Schrodinger's cat approach, that literally these things could be completely dead and never come back, or there's a bright, amazing future of life and success. And you have to assume both scenarios are on the table. And by the way, we're 12 minutes in the video. Like, I haven't even showed you all the sheer volume. Like, I haven't even, like, no. It's like, it's still, like, it's beyond. Like, it's beyond. Like, it's still, like, I haven't even, like, showed you guys all the cards. Like, everybody's looking at the background, the picture. I feel I'll just stop and kind of, like, there's still, no. It keeps going. Look, it's beyond insane. Like, just to kind of show you guys the volume of this card and what I'm discussing with you all. Like, this is, I mean, you guys are seeing a ton on the table. No, dude. Let me show you what Big Boy League is. Let me show you what it's, this is, we're not talking, there's a couple. There's another stack of 500. Like, and then of course we have the other category, all the graded versions of these things from every single grading company out there, from every single high to low grade there is. Just everything, just completely absurd. So, to return and end this story, I'm here to remind you all, it's an important lesson that while today is being driven by some of the most powerful modern bull market I've ever experienced in my life, it's important to remember a couple years ago, everybody thought trading cards and paper cards, number one, wouldn't exist because of NFTs and crypto and blockchain technology. Number two, you will own nothing and be happy and everything's digital and this and that, and wizards can close your account and confiscate your virtual cards. You have to remember, we went through 3-4 years ago in 2020, 2021, during COVID, and you can't clean your Black Lotus with bleach and everything's going to be worthless, and it's you can't be around humans, we kill each other, all this dumb shit that happened. You all have to remember, we're always told things that on the surface and in the moment with the information we have may or may not make logical sense. But it's funny to look back and rethink about the same things when you're in a new era. And one of the biggest things that I always think about before I film these videos is that I remind you all that one of the reasons I really enjoy and I do these videos and I make videos like today is because this video on YouTube is going to timestamp this collection, timestamp this conversation for the future. And now that I've been on YouTube for 10 years, we know the importance of that. We know the history of the old Rudy's Pokemon bathrooms, the old Rudy yelling to buy this, the old Rudy yelling about all these fire sale crash collector boxes from years ago that you should be buying, and all the internet people and all the attitude. I knew eventually enough time would reveal kind of, the most disciplined, and it will reveal who has the mindset to make it long term in this game and in this industry. And I think moments like this are almost a turning point. They're almost pivotal. They're almost a tipping point, because as we all discuss, and you guys sit there and listen to this, and you guys, here, I'll put my hands on the camera so you guys know there's something happening. Look, as you all see this, there's no way to know how smart or stupid this is today. When I did the Rudy's Pokemon bathroom in 2018 and 2017, and dumped all my cases of Roaring Skies and Ancient Origins and Primal Clash, which I still have, Pokemon Generations and Evolutions and all these stupid things. It's weird to me that modern internet culture views some of these videos and history of me as almost legendary, when I didn't really, I don't enjoy it the way you all do, because it's just a side effect of doing this long term. And when things, some of the biggest things in money I've made is only been because nobody wants things, and I get stuck with things, and the internet goes, ha ha. And it's but it doesn't make me a good investor. Buying this today doesn't make me a good investor. This doesn't make me smarter than you all. This just makes me someone who's more patient than other people. It makes me more of an independent thinker than the internet. It makes me willing to do the things that other people are nervous, scared, and they get aggressive or toxic or angry, and that's what people do. And I'm just willing to I always want to push forward. I always want to learn. I always want to see it through. And if that takes a year, 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years on YouTube, then so be it. So be it. I focus on trying to stay active and healthy, and what's going to happen in another 5, 10 years when I'm on YouTube for 15 years? What if I'm on YouTube for 20 years? Are we going to revisit this video when I did this buyout? And is Army of Allah going to be $100 a piece because Arabian Nights in 10 more years is pretty much non-existent? I am the guy that everybody makes fun of because I call old magic museum level, museum quality cards. Remember that? That was the thing everybody made fun of me about for about a year. So this stuff it's so simple to just be like, hey, look at old cards, everybody. How cool, how much fun. Hey, look, Rudy, money, yay. But it's so simple on the surface. But it's so complicated underneath. There's so many variables. There's so many components. There's so many things that can make things look good or bad, or age poorly, or age like milk, or age beautifully, or oh my goodness. It's weird to watch something from 5 years ago, or 7 years ago, or 10 years ago, and to see a comment on a video from 7 years ago of someone saying, oh my God, does this guy still have these sealed, I don't know, Magic or Pokemon or this card? I guess the YouTube algorithm the other day recommended a video where I had foil 7th edition rares, like 200 copies of foil 7th edition rares, because I did a buyout from an investor from years ago, like 6 years ago or something. And somebody started commenting, and somebody messaged me like, Rudy, do you still have those? I said, yeah, they're in the vault. Why not? And the dude's like, foil rares and foil 7th edition copies of those rares are like $500 to $1,000 a card. I was like, what? What are you talking about? They were like $20 a piece. And, it's weird to see how people freak out on things when they watch a video because it's from a different era. And at the time of the video, if you look at the interactions and the attitude and the conversation when the video is published versus the next era, it's like you're in a different planet. It's like you're some fucking multiverse, different universe that doesn't exist. So, now that I've rambled completely unrelated to the video, I'm going to cut the video off. It's 20 minutes. It's already long enough as it should be. My closing statement to you all is, these are the moments to reinforce you should buy what you believe in, buy what you enjoy, and it's important to listen to good content creators on the internet that can help you make good decisions. No one has the answers. I don't have a program to help you guys get rich. You can be a patron. You can send me a message, say, Rudy, I like your videos. Thanks, man. when I sell Magic or Pokemon or Flesh and Blood or One Piece or Weiss, you guys can buy some boxes from me. Whatever doesn't sell, well, I keep it for long term, as you all know. But past that, I appreciate the kindness, and you guys just watching the videos and doing that's all there is to it. That's what I do. That's I've been doing this my entire life, and I don't know what the future is going to be, because I didn't even predict the last few years. I never in a million years would have predicted that I'd be sitting here making this video in 2025, telling you all how vintage and Arabian Nights is dead and nobody gives a fuck. And I'm sitting here saying people are begging and blowing up my email. And if I run a patron sale of Pokemon or Magic, which I do all the time, people just go nuts. And that's the world we're in. And if I had to bet that this would be my future, I would have been really, really wrong. And that's the reality of life. So buy what you want and Schrodinger cat that shit. You have to assume when you buy this, it's dead money. But at the same time, you always have to remember the next generation, the next cycle, the next decade can make you look like some sort of legend. And you don't even know what's coming. And that is the fact about internet culture, the things we talk about, the behavior, what is trendy, what is considered toxic, what makes me a good person, a bad person, language, terminology, everything's going to change on cycle to cycle. And, that's where it's at. So, thanks for watching, everybody. As this collection will head to the Rudy Vault of Arabian Nights, and we will lock it up. I hope y'all have a beautiful day out there as we journey forward through August of 2025.